Dave, can you hear this? There we go.
Good morning. Good morning. Hi, my name is Janine Kep. As a member of the Adult Faith Formation Committee, I'd just like to welcome you all here in person today and via our live stream. Let's see. We are so excited you're all here today for our second installment of Tuesdays in Advent. We will be holding one more Tuesday in Advent next Tuesday, December 14th, same time and place. Breakfast to begin right after Mass around 7:20, and then we'll have our next guest speaker at 7:45. That is AM. I know last week someone actually showed up in the PM, so I just want to make sure everyone knows that is in the morning. That event will also be live streamed for all those who can't attend in person. So Advent is a season that invites us to step away from what can be a frenzied time of parties and shopping to consider how we commemorate the birth of Jesus. It is also a time to reflect on the triumphant return of Jesus at the second coming. When Christ comes again, his presence among us will be revealed in its fullness, a presence that will never end, a presence that is perfect and will complete our existence. It's in the waiting in between these two times that we find meaning for our Christian life. As we reflect on this revelation, let's consider what we will do in this time of preparation. So before we bring up our speaker, I'd like to just share a few announcements about events that are coming up at the parish. So come experience a story of salvation through the music of Andrew Peterson. Behold the Lamb of God concert, the true tall tale of coming of Christ, will take place next Wednesday, December 15th at 6:30 p.m. This 1-hour presentation visits the Old Testament up to the birth of Christ. People of all ages will enjoy music and storytelling put on by a local group of musicians. The story will enhance your Advent experience and bring greater appreciation for Christmas. Bring your family, friends, and loved ones to this unique expression of our faith. The St. John Nepomucene cheering trees are up now through December 12th. The Social Concerns and Awareness Committee at St. John's offers this opportunity to share your good fortune with those in need right here in our community. Please take an ornament located on the tree outside the doors and in the gathering space, attach it to your unwrapped gift, and place it back under the tree by Sunday, December 12th. Any monetary donations may be brought to the parish office. Your generosity will help support local charities such as Pillars Vita, which is formerly known as Mothers and Unborn Baby Care, the St. John Food Pantry, and Harbor House. Oh, come, let us adore him. Eucharistic adoration is offered right here at St. John Nepomucene every third Thursday of the month from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. I did hear the 2 p.m. does have children, so just so you know, I think they're quiet, but I plan to bring mine. Adoration is a quiet time spent in prayer and meditation before Jesus, who is present in the Eucharist. It is a sign of devotion and worship of Jesus, who is believed by Catholics to be present in body, soul, and divinity under the appearance of the consecrated host. This month of December only, we do want to let you all know that there's a slight change to the date the adoration will be held. So please join us next Tuesday, December 14th from 2 to 7 p.m. right here in church. Okay. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our speaker today, Jamie Mara. Jamie grew up in southern Wisconsin as the second youngest in a family of 9. He met his wife, Stacy, in college at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. Jamie began his career in newspapers in Marshfield before moving to Stevens Point and finally Little Chute nearly 20 years ago. Jamie was an editor at the Post-Crescent newspaper in Appleton until 2015 when he left to join a pair of dairy trade organizations, where he is currently the communication director. Stacy leads a team of fundraisers at Lawrence University in Appleton. When their 2 sons were just little youngsters, they joined St. John's Community. Jamie currently serves on the St. John's Communication Committee and began as a catechist 6 years ago. He believes his family was destined to be part of such a wonderful place like St. John's. And Jamie did share a fun fact with me. He discovered that the name of his hometown parish matches our current position, St. John Nepomucene. So please help me welcome Jamie Mara.
Monsignor Jim left, I was going to tell a quick story. Stacy, you might remember this, but Monsignor was giving Mass, and he walked down that aisle, and Connor, probably 2 years old, in my arms, he yelled, "Dad, I saw God." So I wish he would have been here, but thank you, Janine, and thank you, everyone. Jesse, after I heard my name advertised in church last weekend, I worried that maybe nobody would show up. So you took a risk, but now I hope nobody walks out. All right. It really is an honor to be asked to share some of my faith story today. I know we all have unique experiences that have formed and continue to form our relationship with God through Jesus Christ. No one's individual experience is more important than anyone else's. They all are as meaningful and special as God's personal love for each of us. The part of my story I wish to share today is one of inspiration, an example, and prayer. Probably not unlike many of you, God planted me into a Catholic family. The home I grew up in Prairie du Chien, was less than a block from the parish church and school. Religion was a natural part of our lives. Mass during the week at school, and on the weekends and holy days, serving at masses, weddings, and funerals, prayers before dinner, Advent wreaths and rosaries, a family Bible, a huge family Bible. Let's face it though, as a kid, you're sometimes just dragged along. You aren't always sure why your parents are having you do what you're doing, but you inherently trust them. And we watch and learn from what they do, whether we realize it or not. One of those times for me has been etched in my mind for 41 years. I was an anxious kid, and my anxiety got me out of bed early during the school year. This gave me time to think about what the day might bring. I didn't care much for surprises. And this gave me time to myself that I could get settled in before the commotion of breakfast and conversations and finding homework erupted in our large family. One weekday during the early part of Lent, probably about 5:15 in the morning, I was just about to come down the stairs from the bedroom I shared with 3 of my brothers. It was still dark outside and the house was quiet and still. That's the way I liked it. The staircase was directly across from the front door. As I stepped onto the top stair, I heard the doorknob turning, and I froze. The door slowly opened. The lights were off, but I caught a glimpse of my mom slipping silently in. She didn't notice me as she disappeared around the corner, and I stood there for a minute, puzzled. Later, after school that day, I got the chance to ask her where she had been. Her answer, "I went up to church to pray." My parents introduced me to God, Jesus, and the Catholic faith from the very beginning. I'd felt God's presence many times before age 9 that day. I'd learned about him at school. I asked for his help during the day. I prayed to him before bed. But on that particular winter day, in a brief moment of peacefulness and humility, I truly believe he reached out to me through my mom in the example of Jesus and profoundly touched my life. Now, I would like to be able to tell you that my prayer life miraculously flourished from that day on, that I can now recite every Catholic prayer, that I always know what to say to God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, that my understanding of their responses is crystal clear. None of that is true, of course, but I can say that that experience so many years ago affects me to this very day. From Matthew 14, "And after he had dismissed the crowds, he went up to the mountains by himself to pray. Stacy and I began praying with our boys early on. As is typical, we targeted bedtime. The short car ride to school here at St. John's was built in time for the Good Morning God prayer poem. And when the boys were older and they could get themselves to school, we circled up in the kitchen regularly before everyone took off, albeit sometimes begrudgingly. Occasionally, we read the prayer poem, No Time to Pray, as a reminder of the importance of starting the day in a moment with God. You might know it. I got up early one morning and rushed right into the day. I had so much to accomplish that I didn't have time to pray. Problems just tumbled about me, and heavier became each task. Why doesn't God help me, I wondered. He answered, you didn't ask. I wanted to see joy and beauty, but the day toiled on, gray and bleak. I wondered why God didn't show me. He said, but you didn't seek. I wanted to see joy and beauty, but the day toiled on, gray and bleak. I wondered why God didn't show me. He said, you didn't seek. I tried to come into God's presence. I used all my keys at the lock. God gently and lovingly chided, my child, you didn't knock. I woke up early this morning and paused before entering the day. I had so much to accomplish that I had to take time to pray. These days, I don't typically get up as early as I did in my childhood. I'm less anxious for one thing. And for some reason, popping out of bed just isn't something that works very well anymore. I think that my back and knees have something to do with that. It's more like crawling out of bed these days. I still like the quietness, though. My iPhone is the first thing I grab, not to find the Facebook post or Instagram, but to find the day's gospel and go through an abbreviated Lectio Divina, concentrating on a word or phrase and considering what it is God is trying to convey to me that day, and then talking about it with him. Thanks and petitions come after that, followed by a Hail Mary and a request for help as a father and husband from St. Joseph, and also from St. Luke, my confirmation saint. In all, it's typically no more than 15 minutes. Also, before Stacy and I head our separate ways to work, we say a marriage prayer. There's a wonderful daily prayer on the website, marriageprayerstaught.today.com, that I recommend you check out. My drive to Green Bay to my office gives me some extra time alone. My Christian playlist provides another opportunity for prayer, this time through song. By the way, that comes before sports radio and the news. From Matthew 6, and when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by men. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. My mom continued to affect my prayer life throughout the years, and Jesus has continued to reach me through her. I'll share another experience, this one more recent. It was Good Friday in 2018. Stacy, Carson, Connor, and I had just pulled into a parking stall out here on the street to head into service when my cell phone rang. I could see it was from one of my brothers. The timing was unusual, and a feeling of dread washed over me. I told Stacy and the boys it might be best if they go into church while I answer the call. My mom still lived at home at age 86. My father passed away in 2009. Mom had started to have episodes of falling. My brother said she had been taken by ambulance to the hospital after suffering a massive stroke. He had found her on the floor in her kitchen. Well, we scrambled to my hometown. My mom couldn't speak walk, or use her right hand. And she didn't recognize me. I was sad, I was hurt, and I was mad, very mad. And I am ashamed to say that I turned my anger toward God. I found myself praying in a tiny chapel at the hospital. And I'm not proud of the words I used as I questioned him. How could God allow something like that to happen to a devoted, steadfast servant of his? My mom's doctors predicted she would pass away within a few days. My brothers, sisters, and I began determining her end-of-life wishes based on her will and from conversations she'd had with her priest. Hospice seemed like the only move. Within a couple of days, though, she experienced a remarkable recovery. Miraculous is how one doctor described it. Although the physical effects of the stroke remained, she regained her ability to talk and understand, and she recognized me. Clearly, I didn't have a clue about God's plan for that situation. I was back in the chapel, begging for and receiving his mercy and thanking him. From James 1, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him. But let him ask in faith, with no doubting. For the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind. These days I pray with my mom every Sunday over video chat. She's 90 and lives in a nursing home. The pandemic curtailed our in-person visits, but we adapted surprisingly well to Skype. Fortunately, I'm able to see her usually once a month. From her bed, where she spends most of her time, she talks to God all day, she tells me. In her room, she gives thanks to him for the beauty around her, and she sees him through her window in the beautiful fading sun. It's like God is right out there and saying, I am here and I will be with you all the time, she told me. I am blessed to get that reminder so often, that life is beautiful even when it's difficult to see that beauty. Now, it's certainly not just my parents who were role models for me in my faith and prayer life over the years. My wife and sons, Father Ron, other priests that I grew up with, deacons, teachers, my siblings, friends, fellow catechists, Ryan, and here I saw Lance and Ann. I also learned from our confirmation students. And you all who I see here at Mass, whether on a weekday or weekend, you inspire me too. As he has done with my mom, Christ, I believe, uses all of us, each one of us, to set an example for others. To be clear, I am not the best role model. I am imperfect. My wife knows this. My sons know this. Every priest I've confessed to knows this. But I think we're all imperfect. But God accepts us anyway. His mercies are new each and every day. Not only does he accept us, I believe he has given each of us an incredible gift, an incredible power to inspire others, to be an example by the way we live our life and our faith, and through the simple, humble act of praying. So I hope what I've shared with you here this morning inspires you, at least in some small way, to, as you journey through Advent and prepare yourself for the coming of our Savior. From Mark chapter 1. And rising very early in the morning, while it was still dark, he departed and went out to a desolate place, and there he prayed. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Just want to say thank you again, Jamie, and wow, what a great witness to our faith. So as we end today, I just want to urge you to join us again next week. Like I said, same time and place for our third and final speaker. As you leave this morning, I ask that you try to introduce yourself to one new person. Maybe ask them what they plan to do today and share what you plan to do in return. Because you just never know who might really just need that friendly conversation. And you never know what new connection you might make. So in closing, I just pray that you all have a great day and a blessed Advent season. And I thank you all for joining us today.